All right, guys, so I just wanted to kind of hang out here at the river a little bit and just kind of look around. I thought, what better place to talk about the water cycle than right here at the river. So as we talk about the water cycle, we know in the scheme of the water cycle, this is a collection, right? We collect the water and we collect it in this river. Now this river, this is actually the new river, the South Fork, and eventually it goes into the Ohio River, and eventually goes into the Mississippi River from there, all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico, which then goes to the Atlantic Ocean. So depends on what stage you look at, those are all collection points for the actual water. Now, as we talked about before, this water is pretty cool because this water is basically as old as the earth, right? There's no new water created. It just gets cycled through. And how does it cycle through? And that's why I wanted to bring you over here. So if you look, we have a little bit of a puddle, and it kind of, we see this as mud. Now, this is what's so cool. We know that rain comes from where? The sky, right? There's some cool clouds over there. And those clouds, right? We could start at any point of the cycle, but let's just start in the clouds. The rain comes down from the clouds. Now, I say rain, we know it could be any kind of precipitation. Snow, sleet in the winter, right? But this time of year, it's going to rain. Rain will come down and fall, in the dirt, in the grass, in the trees, and then in the river, and it runs off into the river. Well, here's a section that is kind of interesting because this is a little muddy, right? If I pick this up, you can see this is all wet dirt, right? Wet dirt here, mud. Well, why is this important to the water cycle? This shows us an example of the next part of the water cycle. From the collection, we know that the sun's energy forces the next change of the water cycle. It evaporates. And what I like about this mud is we can see it. We know at one point it was wet, had a big puddle, but the water dries out and evaporates. It evaporates. It's soaking in the ground, into the water table eventually. So it goes in where it comes up in the roots of these plants. And then the plants, they don't evaporate, they transpire. It's like sweat. Like when you exercise, you sweat. And so there's water in these leaves, and the sun's energies bakes that water out and causes that water vapor to go back up to those clouds up there. Same thing from here. It's these puddles of water, the sun's energy heats it up, turns it into water vapor, and it evaporates and goes up into those clouds. And when it gets up into those really cool clouds up there, it's pretty high up in the sky, it gets cold, it condensates, it collects together and it gets heavy and cold, and then it falls. And when it falls, it comes back down. And when we run off into this really cool river, where it evaporates out of the river and maybe soaks into the ground, getting sucked up by trees where it transpires again. And guess what? It just does that over and over and over.